What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. Starting off with data points, don't have a whole lot this week. We have a couple Fed speakers, retail sales coming out on Wednesday, Thursday, building permits and starts. So nothing really overly crazy. As far as companies unveiling the earnings, is kicking off bank earnings this week, so that could cause some volatility depending on what they give for future guidance. But most likely they'll be concerned and just state about the tariffs and how that could impact just the broader economy. So that could cause some volatility, but there was one thing that came out yesterday on Saturday, and I'm sure everyone knows this at this stage in the game, but this right here, so the US grants tariff exclusions for computers, smartphones, and chip making equipment. This single-handedly is going to really just blow the market into the stratosphere on Monday. And so similar to what happened with the 90-day pause, markets went up like 20+%. In many cases, that's going to happen most likely this upcoming week because this is absolutely huge. So even though Lucid and many other stocks aren't directly correlated with a lot of these sectors or these exclusions, it's still going to piggyback off of the good momentum because consumers' buying power are going to really be seen in a more positive light, sentiment as well. So things could get very, very interesting. So a lot of heavily shorted stocks, you could see some squeezes. So in Lucid's case, that could really benefit. As far as going into this upcoming week, 23.11% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 280.89 million shares. On Friday, shorts did return 5.41 million shares. So this does mark the third consecutive day of shorts returning. So as you can kind of see, they have started to really return. Actually, I'll make it a little bit easier for you so you guys can see all that right here. So shorts have been starting to return. So for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe they're acting on some other unknown information or whatever else, or maybe they're just trying to mitigate risk. They've definitely returned quite a lot over the last roughly around 20 something million over the last 3 trading days. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. So Monday, they definitely will be probably trying to mitigate some risk. But as far as some expectations from Lucid, there isn't any fireside chats. There were some rumors about this upcoming week about some special event. A lot of people are speculating on how that could be associated to a new CEO being named, but that is completely just rumors. And I've already talked about that in the past, how I don't believe that's actually coming, but you never know. If there is some random event that does happen and they name a new CEO, that could really push the stock price higher a little bit. But these are the upcoming events as listed on Lucid's website. So nothing really overly crazy, in my opinion. So it is just going to be piggybacking off of the broader market. And then aside from that though, Saudi Bay did post this. So it looks like Nissan is approaching the PIF for a potential partnership and also something in the works with Foxconn. So that would really add at least Nissan under the umbrella of the PIF, potentially another opportunity for some licensing. But based on this article right here, it looks like they want to collaborate with Foxconn, so that'd be more under the Seer side and also Hyundai. So maybe Lucid might not benefit, but you never know. Obviously being under the PIF, they like to have all of their assets kind of work together in some fashion and all benefit as one. So you never know. There might be some licensing down the line, but I'm not here to start another rumor because I think every company out there has been at one point or another been named in a potential partnership with Lucid, and so far we haven't heard anything whatsoever. So again, just take all of that with a grain of salt. But with Lucid closing exactly at that 250 on Friday, that does mean 26,000 at that 250 and also 2,000 at that 2 is considered in the money. So come Monday, you'll see a nice bump up as market makers have to cover roughly around 2.6 or I guess 2.8 million shares. There was some abnormal transactions that was done on Friday, so I think there was some buying to cover some of this. but nonetheless, you'll have the markets rocketing because of the tariff news, and also even in Lucid's case, you're going to have market makers buying, as they don't really have a lot of volatile stocks such as Lucid in their inventories. So going into this upcoming week, Lucid was already at the breakout stage. So with everything now that's coming out, Lucid is going to rocket like a mother. You fill in the blanks there for obviously that, but with it at $2.50, trading between this R1 and the pivot, so 255 will be a key point to really watch for it to get above earlier on. I think honestly, I don't really see anything feasible why it would open anywhere below that. So 255 and then 269 and then 291 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. So most likely you'll see at least on Monday it rocket to this R2, and then dependent on everything in the circumstances and the momentum, maybe it could even be above that. But one big thing for Lucid is that $2.52. That is that 50-day moving average. So every time it's gone above that historically, such as right here, it results in like a 30% swing. No different than this time right here, 30% swing. And even historically, Lucid's always struggled with that 50-day moving average. It wasn't up until pretty much late 2024 that's where it actually started to gain some momentum and get above that. But yeah, honestly, this week is going to be very, very interesting for Lucid investors. So I'm lucky to have bought on Friday. So give yourself a shout out if you did also buy like myself. If for whatever reason it does lag the broader market, I'll buy more, because honestly, given everything, especially the most recent announcement about Nikola, I get it, some people might not like that, but I feel like just the writing, like everything is just ready to push higher. And so I think Lucid's going to benefit significantly from a technical standpoint and just from a macro standpoint. So things will get very interesting very fast. So let me know your general thoughts. And like I said already, a lot of heavily shorted stocks are going to have their time in the sun this week, especially at the beginning part of the week, as pretty much like a lot of shorts are going to be scrambling to mitigate risk, right? They're going to be losing left, right, and center. They've overextended themselves. You've even seen a lot of news recently about how hedge funds have been selling out at record levels. Well, they're also going to, with now the news that came out over the weekend, they're going to be FOMOing in. So like, I honestly, it's kind of interesting. I don't see any individual on social media bearish on Lucid whatsoever. Like, everyone is like ready and excited for the overnight trading. So if you do have access to overnight trading, definitely it's something to maybe look at, potentially buy early on before big entities do really start to push it higher during the pre-market. And in case you are curious, as far as I'm aware, I think Webull, Robinhood, and IBKR, I always like to use them. They all have the overnight trading. So if you're looking for access to that, take a look at IBKR, link in the description below and also the comments. I like using them because they give all this additional free information. So tip ranks, analyst ratings, ownership, everything under the sun. So again, a little bit more of something to keep in mind. But aside from all of that though, I do feel going into this upcoming week, it'll be closing between this R3 and this R2. Where do you see things going? Are you bullish, bearish? What's your general thoughts on all of that? Hopefully everyone's having a kick-ass weekend and all the other fun jazz. One final thing, if you're looking for some good buy signals, pop over to my Patreon. I give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.